Hey, my lightnings. Welcome to Pluminosity. And this is my first episode. I'm really excited to be here. And the goal of this channel is to bring some light and maybe some love to the world, because the world definitely needs more light and more love, especially these days. Well, probably any days, what do you think? So I'm hoping to do this all in one take, but we'll see what happens. So I am Carolyn Plum. Yes, that is my actual name. And I was named after the restaurant that my parents met in, which was Maxwell's Plum, which was actually my father's restaurant. So I'm really into names. I love hearing the story of names. So I don't know if you know your own story of your name, but it's usually fun to look into it and to talk about it. I have to do something on my computer. There we go. Okay, so here we are, and let's talk about what is Pluminosity. So I chose Pluminosity as the name because it has the word plum and it has luminosity. So what is luminosity? Well, that's where I turn to the internet. And dictionary.com, which is one of my favorite websites, says luminosity has a couple of definitions. So the first one is it's the quality of being intellectual. Nope, it's the quality of being intellectually brilliant. That sounds kind of good, right? Of being enlightened, being inspired. I love that. It is something that's luminous, okay? And in astronomy, shout out to all my astronomy peeps there, it is the brightness of a star in comparison with that of the sun. And I think comparison is a very important word, because I think in our lives we go through a lot of different things that can't be put into one box. And we are also often faced with experiencing things on a range and a spectrum. And I think it is Khalil Gibran who says that your greatest joy comes from your greatest sadness. And so we're often faced with that comparison. And so a star in comparison to the sun is a really great image that I'm going to try and play with during our time together. And last but not least, in the optics world, there's something called the luminosity factor. Now, I don't understand all the words for this definition, but bear with me here. It says, the brightness of a light source of a certain wavelength as it appears to the eye, measured as the ratio of luminous flux to radiant flux at that wavelength. Okay, I don't know what luminous flux is. I don't know what radiant flux is. I love the idea of flux, though, in general. But what the luminosity factor is pointing out is that it's a perception, right? We all have different perceptions of the world. And I don't think there's any one right way for anybody. And I certainly don't know everything. And I try not to tell people how to do things in a certain way, because what works for me may not work for you and might not work for them. And I think sometimes we want someone to tell us what to do and what is right. And one of the great parts of life is figuring out what works. So part of what I hope this channel will be about is, what is a good life? How do you know you have a good life? How do you make a good life? How do you make a good life for other people? Right? And so that's what Pluminosity is going to be about. Bringing light, bringing love, answering some questions, exploring some deep things. I love the deep stuff. So if you're on me with that, then I hope you come back. I want to close out today by giving a quote. And this is a quote by Martha Beck. And she was recently interviewed. Actually, it wasn't so recent. It was back in March on the Dear Gabby podcast by Gabby Bernstein, who I am a big fan of. And I am soaking up like a sponge right now. So I'm on a big Gabby Bernstein kick. And so this is the Gabby Bernstein interviewed Martha Beck on March 21st, 2022. At least that's the episode. And at the end of the episode, which I highly recommend, Martha Beck says this quote, which I hope for whoever needs to hear it, it gets to you and it helps. So here's what she says. There's a part of the brain that controls. It holds on. It attaches. And we're taught that this is how to make things work. And it has created miracles. She goes on to talk about what kind of miracles it creates. But on the other hand, there's the right side of the brain where you let go of everything. And our culture says, when you let go of everything, you fall. And it turns out that if you let go of everything, you do fall. But you never land. And it's not the fall that kills you. It's the landing. So you realize, oh, what I'm doing now is flying. And it's this feeling that is complete liberation. So, on that, I wish you light and I wish you love. Thanks.